My name is Father Roger Lopez, and this is a Friar Life.
While there are many common aspects of living the life of a Franciscan friar, there is hardly a blueprint to follow. Called to live the gospel of Jesus Christ in the way of St. Francis, no two lives are the same. This is a Friar Life.
So in addition to being a Franciscan friar who serves as a priest, my ministry is also full-time in education, particularly secondary education of high school. Education is such an important part of being a Franciscan. The Franciscan motto of education is in sanctitate et doctrina, in holiness and learning. This desire to help the youth to grow in both of these elements. This holiness of the embrace and the fullness of what God calls us to, as well as learning, the educational part. So this element of both information and formation is an essential part of what it means to be a Franciscan and our ministry towards education. Come on in. The Deweeses are here. I love it. Thank you, Father. Morning, Mr. Gully. How you feeling today? So one of the essential parts that I teach is an introduction to the Old Testament. We're going to look at the book of Samuel today and we're going to understand these numerous shifts that happen within the book of Samuel, understand how this weaves into our love letter, and formulate why this story is important. One of the great things that I love about teaching is just the ability to walk with them and understand kind of what their faith is. But in addition to that, is for them to realize who, as friars, as these friars minor, who we are, is that it's so easy, especially today, to be disconnected from the religious world. Vocations are challenged now, and to have someone who is both a friar as well as a priest, that we're working through a subject together, comes alive, and they're able to see who I am. Hopefully this genuine person that doesn't have a lot of hair, but also can make jokes, who works through and tries to understand some of these passages with them. And those type of things are probably one of the best parts of teaching, is to help them realize not only who I am, but how I am impacted by these stories that we read within Scripture or within our faith, and we can do this together.
I like how he didn't realize, he just looked down and was like, she's right there.
Teaching is just one element of what I do here at Roger Bacon, is that what we have incorporated is a spiritual life team to where different faculty members oversee these different elements of trying to improve the spiritual life of students. My role is to serve as the director of community outreach. Now, my model of directing is more of empowering. So students who sign up to be on this board of community outreach serve as leaders, project leaders. My role as the director is to help give them the tools that are necessary. A lot of what we see is that the students will take on these projects and make them their own. They create, they plan, they train, and they execute. This has been proven really effective because students will go out even without my presence there, and they continue to lead other students in this ministry of service, reaching out into the community, putting our concept, our Franciscan motto of holiness and learning into action in the real world. One of the great things we do at Community Outreach is a program that was started in 1988 by one of our friars, Brother Conrad Redmond. Brother Conrad Redmond realized that faith needs to be put into action, so he created this community outreach office where students could come together and put that faith into action in the community. One of the programs that he began was a program called Bacon Buddies. This was an idea to where students from Roger Bacon would go to an inner city school and work with 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders to where they could partner together, mentor together, work together around certain themes. We continue this today. We go to 3 different schools. We have over 80 students that are involved in Bacon Buddies, all centered around different themes where they reflect and activities. We continue this as Roger Bacon to where mentoring even beyond Roger Bacon. We began in a program to where it was we would take students from here up to St. Bonaventure, one of our universities in New York, so that they could see that they could live out this Franciscan life, this Franciscan education beyond secondary education into the university. This continues, and we've had students go for these last 2 years on this wonderful pilgrimage. Prayer is such a fundamental part of my life. Sometimes that prayer is structured, more formal. Sometimes it's informal and just spending time in silence. I start my day around 7 o'clock with Mass, and right after that, hit the ground running. And as I walk out of the friary, head to school, I'll be praying maybe a rosary, a little bit of the office. Then the day continues on, but I always try to make some time for a little bit of quiet, maybe in front of the Blessed Sacrament for about 30 minutes. And just talk to God talk to Jesus about all the things that happened today. Maybe I'm talking about the students and the craziness that went on, or about the ways that the Spirit has been touching them and how I've had a chance to see that, how beautiful that is. Or I talk to the Lord about things going on in the world or in my life, just to spend about that 30 minutes. There's also the time that I spend with an evening prayer, praying on behalf of the world in our liturgy of the hours. But all of these things are an essential part that help me, that change me as I move into the day in my life, hopefully for holiness. So fraternity is an important part of what it means to be a Franciscan friar, to be a friar minor, but in particular, for me, it's something that it strengthens me. This is my family. This is my family of all of its great parts and all of its shortcomings. We support each other, we encourage each other, we challenge each other, we lift each other up. I remember talking with one friar, and we were discussing and debating on whether or not it would be good for a friar who goes off maybe to excel in astrophysics, and that would require a particular type of schooling. And my first question was, well, where would they live? Where would the friars be? He says, well, what happens if it would just be them? And I said, well, then I'm sorry, that's not something that friar should pursue. He says, but no, it's so important because it would help the life of the church, the life of science, the life of humanity. I said, the central part of our life is being together. That the witness of each other, the witness of our brotherhood, the love of our fraternity is the gift that we give to the church, that we give to the world. Without that, we're not friars. So in addition to teaching, one of the ministries that I provide as a friar priest is to provide the sacramental life of different parishes. So in addition to teaching Monday through Friday, typically Saturdays and Sundays are responding to the needs of the local parishes within the Archdiocese. So this would be Sunday Masses, Saturday evening Masses, vigils, especially during Advent and Lent seasons. This would be penance services, so responding through that sacrament. And this is a wonderful call that comes within the vocation as a friar minor, the ability to provide the love and compassion of Jesus Christ through the Eucharist, through baptisms, as well as through the sacrament of reconciliation. So starting of the day at 7 o'clock in the morning, finishing around 9 o'clock at night, one of my favorite parts is gathering in our recreation room with the other friars and just relaxing, unwinding for the day, sharing our stories, some of the craziness that goes on. And even though that the day is filled with on the go, serving God's people, grading tests, teaching, all these different parts, at the end of the day, I go to bed exhausted, not bored, realizing that I've given everything that I have. And that's probably one of the best parts about being a friar, is the ability to be my most genuine, authentic self, that what they see is what they get. Francis lived that life. And so I would invite anyone who's looking and trying to figure out if they're called to be a friar minor, if this is the type of life, the idea of trying to live that genuine, authentic self, giving everything that you have to God's people and to your brothers, this could be the life for you. and they're able to problem solve and figure out why, like in high school students are like velociraptors. They will test the fence to see where the weakness is.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and that's what they do to teachers. They'll test to see in the weakness, then they'll rush through it and break through it. And so the thing is, you just have to have a strong fence. As someone told me, you have to be firm, you have to be fair, and you have to be consistent.